So for those of you that are watching this, my name is Benjamin Siong. I'm founder of Australian Strength Performance Base in Melbourne. Now, I've been in the fitness industry for about 21 years this year. And so that's quite a big chunk of my life, really. Fitness was never something I looked to get into full time, essentially, was never a career option. I'm actually a shrink by profession, a psychologist. So that's what I did in university. The goal was to be able to further my studies in psychology. I got my thesis published, got my honors done, was offered a PhD, and then decided maybe that's not for me. And then I spent a bit of time in marketing for about 3 years. And then I decided, that was a key turning point in me doing marketing. And that was I came back one day and I felt sick that evening. I had a massive pain in my abdomen, the top of my abdomen, and I didn't know why or how that pain came about. Really interesting. That pain kind of developed quite rapidly through the night, and I found myself kind of crunched over, rolling on the floor. Got sent to the hospital. Had the doctors look over me, and they gave me a jab of morphine. So they said, "Look, this pain is we don't know what's going on with you. Take this morphine, and then we'll do some blood tests and find out what's going on with you." So test results came back in the morning, and lo and behold, they couldn't tell me anything that was wrong with me. And so they said, "We don't know what's wrong with you. Uh, Everything looks fine, so we're going to send you home." So that's what
Oh,
they did. They
wow.
sent me home. Second night, it happened again. Exact same thing. It actually happened at about 5:30 in the evening. For whatever reason, it just kind of struck at that time. So the whole day I was fine. Hit 5:30, cold sweat pouring down. I was rolling on the floor again. It was really, this really sharp pain in my sort of diaphragm abdomen area. And again, went to the hospital. This time went to a different hospital, hoping to get answers. Same thing, morphine. Morning came about, no answers. Couldn't tell me anything. And it happened again the third night. Second night, I was sent home, and I went to the hospital yet again. So the third time I went to the hospital this time, I said, "Look, I've been to two different hospitals. Morphine, same sort of protocols that you guys have given to me. You've got to give me answers because you've taken my bloods." Two hospitals couldn't tell
Yeah.
me what was going on. And test came back, and again, doctor said to me, he said, "Your results look perfectly normal. We don't know what's going on. I believe this could be stress. I just think that you are super stressed and highly stressed." And so this kind of struck home. It was like, in a marketing job where you are working as hard as you can. And I remember working, at that point of time, 7 days a week, just really pushing myself, striving to climb that ladder. And it hit home, because what's the use of all this wealth, all this success, so-called success, when your health is not prioritized? And
Mm.
that was kind of what jolted me to go, let's do something in fitness, perhaps. Now, this wasn't my first introduction to fitness. I've been a sort of a personal trainer throughout the time that I was doing marketing as well. I was kind of just doing, odd jobs on the side. Back when I was in university, in Melbourne University, I was also personal training in the gym down there for a bit. It wasn't a full-time thing. Like I said, it was just kind of dabbling with it. And so, yeah, so this was it. Getting into personal training was never really a professional option for me. I got into it because, first and foremost, it was easy to kind of get into the industry. It was something that I loved, and I'm sure that resonates with a lot of the personal trainers that's listening to me right now. It is something that they felt maybe I could help someone with, their aspect of fitness, and let's give it a go and see what the case is. So when I got into fitness, it was never a long-term sort of plan to stay into fitness. It was something where I thought, I'll get into fitness. Let's see how much finance money I could earn from being a personal trainer, and then let's move on from there. Let's see what the world holds for me after. So I really had no plans. There wasn't anything that I had in mind or a structure, and I just came into fitness, kind of wandered into it. But one thing led to another, and well, here I am. I run a strength and conditioning facility right now. I've had this facility here on my own accord for 11 years this year. And I do my main passion right now is in education. It's an education of personal trainers, right? So I travel the globe to teach. I do conferences internationally. A lot of my conferences are based in Southeast Asia as well as the Middle East. So I travel to a lot of these countries, and I train trainers with my courses. These courses are internationally certified courses, specifically in the topics of body composition, and that's what I love.
Wow. That's really interesting. So you come from a marketing background. How has that helped you in your personal training business with getting your name out there, acquiring
Truth is,
leads?
immensely, immensely. I started off as a personal trainer in Fitness First. Fitness First is a chain of gyms. As you know, I don't know whether you guys have it in New Zealand.
No.
Right. Okay. So in Australia and pretty much internationally, Fitness First is around. So it's like a Les Mills basically.
Oh, yeah.
It's a massive chain, and you become a personal trainer as a independent contractor. So you're not hired, you're not paying a wage. So we pay them rent. And so this is also relevant to, I think, a lot of the trainers that's listening to this. You pay a rent and a bond that you need to put down first. And I remember entering this personal training job in negative. I mean, so I had to fork
Yep.
out, a certain amount of money for a bond, and I had no money in my account, so I had to borrow from a friend at that point of time. So I started off my personal training career, lo and behold, in negative in my account. Right. And so I said, okay, look, we've got to make it happen. But because of my background in marketing, and I did phone sales, I did direct marketing, it was all hands-on. I wasn't sitting behind the computer and doing online marketing. So I was able to utilize it extremely well because what I saw in front of me was a pond, not a sea. I felt like I was a shark in a pond. I went in there and there were people already training in the gym. I didn't have to go out to look for people. They
Mm.
were there for me. And so this made it really easy for me. It was all about yeah, building rapport. It was all about identifying the clientele that I wanted to train at a point of time because you're a new trainer, you may not have identified a niche for yourself. So as a new trainer, the goal is to be able to get as many clients, get as much business as you can. So it was really about working the numbers, talking to people, finding out what they're interested in, how can you help them, and just keep doing that on a daily basis because consistency matters and it is a numbers game. Okay, the law of averages will tell us that if you're speaking to a certain number of people, you may not get any sort of bites for the first 10 people, but you may get one bite. Sometimes the bites are not evenly dispersed, they come after some time. So it's really just kind of working that what we call the law of averages, how many people you talk to, how many people you build a rapport with. And every time you talk to a certain number of people, you get better at understanding what people need, how you can relate to them. And that just kind of rolled. So by the end of, I remember by the end of 3 months, I was up for 40 sessions.
Wow.
So that was actually fast for me. I mean, 40 is for myself would be sort of the tipping point. Typically I've gone through sessions up to about 55 sessions a week, and that was a bit too much for me. So 40 is sort of ideal. If you were a PT full time and training, I think 40 sessions a week would be sort of ideal. Yeah.
And how would you say when you're building rapport with a client or clients, you're walking the gym, how do you do that in a genuine way where for some people that are personal trainers might be shy or, keep to themselves a little bit and they feel that if they go up to a person, they don't want to come across as desperate?
Yeah. So the goal is this. If you have the word sell in your head and you walk around and all you see is dollar bills, yeah, I think that desperation does come across because
Yeah.
as an independent contractor, your goal is to be able to make a certain amount of money to pay the rent that you need to pay. So a lot of trainers have this on their head. The first thing that they think about is how am I going to pay this rent? And they approach a client or a random individual with that burden on their shoulders. How am I going to pay this? If I can convert this person, then my rent is paid. But that sort of mentality makes one desperate, right?
Yeah.
Because imagine if this personal trainer has, let's say has already covered that rent. Anything that is coming in is going to be a bonus. The way he approaches the client or she approaches the client is going to be so different because there is no chip on that shoulder. So the best way to approach a sort of a person, I would say, is you really have to put away that thought of finance. Even though finance is essential for you at this point of time, you've got to put that away. You've got to let that genuine interest in that person actually shine through. We always say that when you speak to someone, the goal here is not to sell them, because there's always a negative connotation with the word sell. The first thing that a trainer should be doing is learning to identify the needs of a client. Now, if you have seen Wolf on Wall Street, have you seen that movie before?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So it's a great movie, we all know. And there was a scene in the movie, and we all know this, where you're meant to sell a pen, right? And
Yeah.
someone goes, sell me this pen. Now, in order to be able to sell this pen, to promote this pen to someone, it is useless just rattling on about the pen. Most personal trainers do that. They approach a client and they rattle on about how good they are, what they can do for the client, how much their sessions are, why the client needs to train. I mean, that's all great. But the basis of you promoting your services is identifying what needs does the client have. If you cannot identify those needs, you cannot sell a service. A service can only be taken on if that person has a need. So the goal of any personal trainer is to go out there to identify what needs do the person have, you know, when they're talking with a potential customer or a client. And identifying a need comes skill. So really, how deep are you digging? A lot of people will go, "Oh, hi, how you doing? What's your name? I'm so and so. I'm a personal trainer. This is what I do." You start to promote your services even before you identify, why is this person in the gym? Have
Yeah.
you asked, what are you doing? And this person may go, "Oh, I'm here to lose weight." Great. And you rush into your services. But losing weight can mean so much for one person. It means something different for another person. Why does the person want to lose weight? Have you ever found out? What is their anchor? So identifying the need of a client comes with identifying what emotions the client has, expectations with training itself. That becomes an anchor. If you learn to dig a little bit deeper, and coaches or trainers should learn how to do that, as they dig a little bit deeper, they learn to identify these particular needs. Okay, some needs for a client could be, hey, I'm training in the gym because I used to be really fat. And you know what? That affected my self-confidence. I'm training in the gym and I'm telling you I want to be fit, but really that's not the case. I don't care if I'm going to be fit. I want to look good. I want to
Yeah.
look good naked. And I want to do that because I've been ridiculed all my life. People have called me obese, and I've got a chip on my shoulder that I want to prove to everyone I can do it. Now that's their why. If you're not finding out that reason, you're not going to sell to this person. So it is a matter of digging. Now, who really will be so open to tell you all that? No one, right? So a lot
Mm.
of people, you need your genuine attitude to be there, not the dollar sign, but to start talking to this person. What are you doing here? What are you training for? Find out a little bit more about their life. And people will open up if they know that you are genuinely interested in them. It's very interesting. I think a lot of the times, and this is it, instead of talking, ask the open-ended question, sit back and listen. You'd be amazed at how people open up, how people confide in you as a trainer. Very similarly to a hairdresser, when you go to a hairdresser, isn't it? They're the
Yeah.
ones that cut your hair, but for whatever reason, you tell them your entire life story. And once you do that, you feel like there is a compulsion to go back to the same hairdresser again and again and again because they know you inside out. They know about your life. Um, and that's exactly the same thing with a personal trainer. So the goal here is to be able to identify the needs of a client, and of course with this, I think a lot of personal trainers in what they lack nowadays, especially in your certificate 3, your cert 4 courses, what we call in Australia to qualify someone for personal trainer, they do not teach you rapport building skills. They don't teach you these sort of soft skills that are needed to understand how to relate to the client, how to identify exactly, what are the needs of this client, and then how to pair what you can offer, your offering, with the client's needs. Now, imagine if you have an offering to give, but you don't identify the needs of the client, then that's now the client will not purchase whatever you're trying to sell because you haven't met their needs. In the same way, if your client has a need, but you are not actually identifying it as well, that becomes an issue. So learning to identify that need, and then once you've identified that need, matching your services, whatever you can offer to that client, to say, okay, you've got this need and I've got a solution for you and I can match it. That's when you're going to get business. So earlier you spoke about people who are shy. Speaking about, personal trainers who have this boundary and they don't want to go out. Well, if you're running your own business, there isn't a choice, buddy.
Yeah.
There isn't a choice. I mean, let's put it this way. When I first started out with personal training, training online and the internet is definitely not the way it is right now. Right, personal training was very much kinesthetic. It still is, but to a large degree, we've got a lot of social media influences. There are a lot of trainers who have this shy sort of attitude that now can actually thrive as online coaches and online PT. Right, that's a new niche that is being set up for them. And if they feel that that is something they want to gravitate towards, by all means, they can do that. But at the end of the day, when you're training someone, this is a very personal relationship, right? Whether you are building this personal relationship on the screen or you're physically building this relationship with a person one-on-one, this is how you need to hone into your niche, right? If you feel that you're someone who's more suited to online coaching, start following that path. If you're someone that online coaching may not suit you and you really want to be able to train someone hands-on, I think you need to follow that path. But in terms of executing results for clients, the online space and the physical space is going to be extremely different. How you give instructions to your clients to get those results are going to be extremely different. I find that you will be a lot more effective helping clients to convert to train to get results if you are first a kinesthetic trainer one-on-one and then you moved into the online space as opposed to vice versa. If you were online and then you moved into a kinesthetic space, it's going to be a big transition.
Yeah, definitely. And just touching on the new personal trainers, what can they do to improve their ability to build soft skills, build their ability to walk around the gym, walk the floor and have that confidence in themselves to, be that person that can go and talk to anyone?
Go back to basics, in my opinion. You have to actually go back to basics. And what I mean by that is a lot of personal trainers at this point of time will have a social media sort
Yep.
of what is it, an alter ego, right? A lot of them will post on social media. They might have an Instagram account, a TikTok account, whatever it is. They appeal to a different audience and a generation. How they appear on social media may not be their actual personality. So social media cuts out what you don't want people to see, only gives people what you want them to see. And that's the problem. The problem is that people build them up to be a certain individual, but the moment they're trying to relate with people, they're another person. So I think going back to basics to me is very critical, which means that they actually need the people interaction. They need to go out there, they need to talk to people, they need to relate with people, they need to understand how to, give cues physically rather than, following a program online. They need to be able to know how to follow up with clients. They need to do all the basic things. Well, I call it basic. That's what we used to do before they even try to go into sort of the online space, or if they want to do it together with sort of the online offerings that they are providing. I think a lot of trainers are very internet savvy nowadays. And so they will use a lot more of their promotion of themselves through the internet, which I think can be a good tool to bring in business, but they lose that soft skills, they lose that people interaction.
Yeah, definitely. And just following on to that, as a new personal trainer, what kind of advantages or disadvantages would someone have when they first enter the industry?
The biggest disadvantage, I would say, is the ability to run a business, right? So if you're a personal trainer, it depends on which route you want to take. I think a lot of personal trainers will feel safer if they actually went into a gym that paid them a wage. So you are the employee of a gym,
Oh, yeah.
right? As an employee of a gym, you are safe with a wage. Typically, what you will do is you will do floor hours, which means that you might do classes for the gym. You might walk the floor in certain time slots to go. If there are any people on the floor, any members that need help, you're there to help them. And then you might have personal training clients, but your personal training clients are dictated by the gym. So people who want personal training would say, look, I want personal training. They will allocate these particular individuals to you. They will buy packs, and you're kind of retaining those kind of packs. It is a safer structure for a lot of personal trainers, but I find that personal trainers like that get lazy and complacent because
Right.
it's nothing to challenge them. They're being paid a wage, right? Now, if you really wanted to grow your personal training business, the next step would be to be a independent contractor or to run your own business and your own show, because it is sink or swim. You have to make it work. If you don't make it work, that's that. So we see that the biggest turnover for personal trainers come from this space, the space where personal trainers will enter in. They feel like this is an industry where they can earn good money because personal trainers can charge what, 60, 70, $80 an hour, even more
Yeah.
for some personal trainers. And you go to an average job out there and you're earning $25, $30 an hour. So, in comparison to that, personal trainers, for such little time of study, you can earn so much more. And that's what the attractive factor is. The attractive factor
Yeah.
also is that you can kind of play around with your own times. If you don't feel like working as much, you can pull back. If you feel like working more, you can as an independent contractor. So it is attractive to a lot of trainers. But I think a lot of trainers lack that business acumen. They go into this world and they're like, okay, great. People want to train with me because I look like this. Well, looking a certain way is a nice name card, is a nice, a way to show people, okay, well, I am a personal trainer, but your interaction with them, your ability to give them that results, your ability to be able to, structure programs, build that rapport, that all counts. And this is what we call soft skills, really, that understanding of their client. A lot of trainers are not equipped with that. A lot of trainers are not equipped with business planning. So how are you going to grow your business? Are you going to wait for word of mouth? Are you just going to use Instagram just because you have a profile on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok? Doesn't mean you're going to get promoted. You need to be different. You need to identify who you want to train, how you're going to approach those people. What makes your service special and unique? Why would someone pay you 50 and not the other trainer 50? So I think a lot of trainers will actually need training on this, but they don't get training in your cert 3 and cert 4 courses. I think a lot of trainers will probably benefit a lot more if they reached out to a mentor or
Yeah.
someone in the industry, that has experience, to be able to give them that experience, very much like an apprentice. When you start a job, you do an apprenticeship to start off with, where yes, you're paid a lot less, but during that apprenticeship, you go through the everyday struggles of what your boss has gone through. You've got to learn the basics all the way to the intermediate and more advanced skills. You get to see how difficult it is to actually run a business and how a good business can actually take off and fly and actually earn good money. So I think this is if it was possible to integrate that into education for trainers, I think that would be great.
And what about someone that wants to find a mentor? How can they go about finding one? How can they compare, say, someone that might be specialized in X and someone else that might be specialized in X?
Mm. Right now, I would say trainers are in a space and a time where they're very privileged. Why? Because the internet has opened so many routes for
Yeah.
them to explore, right? So if you want a mentor is someone who can teach you something, right? If you're growing your business, often trainers would go, okay, well, I need to look for a trainer in the space that's doing exactly what I want,
Yeah.
and learn from them. Yeah, that's great. That's a mentor that you can relate to doing exactly what you want to do. But there are other modalities out there that will give you equal mentorship in different parts of the business. Some trainers are very good and skilled in training a particular demographic. They've got a niche population, whether it's rehab, whether it's mothers, whether it's the elderly, whether it's athletes. They're very specialized, but they may not be earning the money that you want to earn because their niche may not afford what they are looking for in that sense,
Yeah.
right? So I'll give you an example. Um, to be an S&C coach, strength and conditioning coach, is a big deal. It is a big deal
Yeah.
because of the name that comes with it. If you had, for example, you did some sort of work with the All Blacks, wow, that title was amazing. You feel really good about it. My question is, how well do you get paid with that? In
Not
Australia,
well.
anyway, yeah, exactly. So in Australia, anyway, if you were a strength and conditioning coach, a lot of the times when you're climbing up the ranks of working in strength and conditioning, you're not being paid a fee at all. A lot of clubs, a lot of sport are not being well supported by the government, right? They do not earn the same sort of money that Americans or Canadians would earn in, ice hockey or basketball or soccer or anything like that close to it. Sport in Australia, and I would say New Zealand as well, is that people are very passionate about it. We've got lots of good sports people, but they're not being paid well. They're not being supported by the government as well. And so these athletes are not your rich athletes. These athletes are not earning millions a year that are able to drop, a lot of
Mm.
money on a personal trainer or health or anything like that. A lot of the times they work or they train within a club that would have a strength and conditioning coach. A lot of these up and coming aspiring strength and conditioning coaches, students, for example, will do free work for clubs to get their foot in the
Yeah.
door. It's
Interning.
always free interning, and it's always free. Now, at the end of all these internships where you worked for free, are you able to get a job as a strength and conditioning coach? Because
Yeah.
it is such a niche group, you may not be able to. And even if you do, my question is, how much will you earn? You look at S&C coaches that would earn $75,000 a year, $80,000 a year. After all that you've put through, $80,000 a year. But then I look at a personal trainer, and I easily, with more than two hands, can look at the personal trainers that I've mentored, and these guys are earning up to 150K and more a year. So question is this, I mean, what do you want? You want to be an S&C coach? Great. But understand you may not be earning what you want to earn. You don't want to be a personal trainer. Why? Because you don't feel that it's prestigious enough. But then it carries with you a price tag that allows you to live the life that you want to live. Call your shots, have the hours you want to have. So these are some of the considerations that a lot of trainers need to understand. You're working with a particular demographic. If you're going to be working with rehabilitation, what sort of income would you be looking at getting? So understand your niche, understand how you're going to earn what you're going to earn. If you want to revolutionize your niche so that you can earn a lot more, by all means, do you have a plan for that? So it comes back to planning, comes back to understanding. So as we go back to mentorship, as I said just now, you can find someone who's in your niche to get mentorship from them on on a specialty skill. That's no problem. But in terms of business, you need to look at the same person and go, how well is this person actually running their business? Is this person running a business? If this person is not running a business and you're running a business, then you cannot get mentorship from this person. You got to look at a business person. And the good thing about business is that business is a field that is so diverse and it transcends. So there are numerous podcasts out there of people running different businesses. Listen to these podcasts, even though they have nothing to do with fitness, because the information you can get allows you to translate a lot of those principles into what you're doing. Principles about how you should be working, principles about organization, principles about how you should perhaps be saving money, principles about how you should be doing marketing for your business, which is huge nowadays, right?
Yeah.
And the different strategies that they would have. And so all these actually kind of plays a huge role. Now, this information is only possible because social media has made it possible, because there's shows out there like, Shark Tank or whatever the case is that
Yeah.
gives you ideas about how people actually set up businesses and run businesses. Back in the day, there wasn't anything like that. Back in the day, it was a lot more difficult to find mentors because the internet didn't allow that to happen. People were not active on the internet. And in order to find a mentor, it's word of mouth. It's like, okay, who do you think is the best in this field? I might need to travel to go learn from this person because this person is not on the internet or not actively on the internet. So I remember one of my main mentors was Charles Poliquin.
Oh yeah.
And Charles has, is passed. But I mean, he had left such a big impact on the strength and conditioning world.
Yeah.
And to learn from him. I remember back in the day, we didn't have the opportunity. He only came to Australia once every so often. I was one of the first few batches that went to tennis courses when he did come to Australia. And if he wasn't here, how could I learn more from this guy? And that's to travel. And I spent a lot of money every single year to traveling to Rhode Island, traveling to where he was to take his courses. I remember in one year I could spend six figures, on traveling itself, on accommodation. Remember, it's all in USD, right?
Yeah.
On the courses that he's running, on spending time with him personally and actually paying him personally to sit down with him to actually uh, he has this thing called a brain picking fee, which means that you pay him to try to pick his brain on anything that you wanted to find out. And he charged an extravagant amount. We're talking about 16, 17 years back. There's a lot of money that he would charge for the 1 hour with him. And you better decide to get out your money's worth. Like, you need to know
Yeah.
what you want to get out of there and start jotting down things. So right now, I would say that this demographic of personal trainers are so blessed, so lucky to be able to have access like that to pretty much anyone out there.
And would you recommend anything in particular for a new personal trainer in regards to certain skills that they need to do, or courses, or books they need to read that might help propel their business?
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the level that they're starting out at. I mean, let's say you're someone like myself who's come in from a marketing background, and you knew how to establish rapport with people, then a lot of the business skills in terms of establishing rapport is going to be straightforward.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, this is one thing I've noticed when it comes to mentoring and teaching trainers is that trainers out there are doing the right things in terms of learning. They're out there, they're wanting to learn more. They come to do courses, they've done this course, done that course. A lot of them would do online courses. The problem with a lot of trainers nowadays is the more they learn, the less they apply.
Right.
Okay? So the more they learn, the less they apply. It means that they're out there, they're getting this knowledge, they love to get the credentials behind their names because it allows them to be seen as someone who's more senior, more advanced. It allows their resume to look really good, but a lot of them take that knowledge and they don't know what to do with it. In my opinion, an effective trainer is one that learns a course, takes the knowledge, and practices that. As long as they practice that knowledge, and it is practice in whatever they do, they will be more successful than the trainer that knows a lot that doesn't practice.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not just about going out there learning, it's about going out there learning and knowing when to stop, to start practicing. So every course that you do, you've got to make sure that you're there taking the information and putting it down. Because I see so many trainers at conventions and so many trainers at seminars that they don't apply. I also think a lot of courses out there are very theoretically based. They're not application driven. So if a trainer wants to do a course, I think it's extremely important that they find a course that is application driven, right? That's for one. So you got to find a course that teaches you how to apply science, how to apply research, how to apply knowledge. Applying science, research, knowledge is all very empirical, very, very important. But what is also important is don't forget clinical practice or anecdotal practice, meaning you got to
Yeah.
go out there and you got to train yourself. I'm saying this because I have a lot of, and interestingly, strength and conditioning coaches that come to my courses. These guys are, doing the masters of exercise science and so forth, but they come with a very big empirical knowledge and understanding of a lot of science, but no practical experience. How do you know? Because first and foremost, they don't look the part, they don't play much sport, they don't know how to deadlift. They
Yeah.
literally have no concepts of how to deadlift and how to squat. Now, those are the most basic, fundamental, primal movements as we look at, as we call it. Get into it yourself. You've got to be training. You've got to be
Yeah.
training. You've got to be doing, you've got to understand biomechanics from your own movements. Otherwise, you cannot tell if a machine is effective or not effective. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of trainers down there, they need to be able to walk the talk. They're talking about something, Do it first. Do it, practice it, put it in a clinical setting, try it on yourself, try it on your clients. Does it work? Does it not work? Compare that with research out there. What does the research say? Can your research support it? Or your research doesn't support it. If the research does not support it, that's fine. Research doesn't support everything.
Yeah,
Research
exactly.
gives you a particular demographic, and that's okay. Sometimes we'll find that a lot of the times research catches up with practice. It's not the other way around. So that's okay.
Yeah, it's a bit like if you have a client or you have a sports team and you take them through a session, but you haven't done the session yourself, and then they get sore afterwards, and it's like, well, you could have mitigated that risk by doing it yourself, and then kind of analyzed,
Absolutely.
okay, that was worth it, or okay, nah, maybe I need to drop some load or drop some intensity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is it. You may not take yourself to the intensity of your clients, especially if your clients are elite athletes, right?
Yeah,
But you need to have an understanding of what the workout would do for them. You also need to have an understanding of the biomechanics of the team and whether it would take a toll on their nervous system, and this eventually would take a toll on them playing the sport on the day itself, or do they need a rest day? What is their perceived stresses and a whole bunch of different things that they need to consider. So I think practicing it is key because a lot of trainers don't practice it enough.
yeah, and then even forward onto that is if you're working with a sports team and you're talking to the coaches and their players are sore, you're the first person to take the brunt of the yelling.
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's always good to have some reasoning behind it, always have, I guess, an answer to why your methods are this way or why your processes are this way. Even in the
Mm,
personal training field, if someone asks you, oh, why are we doing this
100%.
squat?
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. So you need to have a solid foundation of theory, no doubt about that. But you also need to know why you're applying it.
Yeah. And then just on that as well, how, as a strength conditioning coach, especially, or someone with exercise science background, how can you explain your methods or your processes to a personal training client without inundating them with knowledge they don't care about? Like, how important is that to not paralyze them with just meaningless, you know?
That is everything. That is everything. It comes even in the teaching world. So when I have a group of students in front of me, the first thing that I need to establish is their level and the capacity of understanding. Because if I give them information, it's not about how smart I am to overgive
Yeah,
information. It's how useful is that information to them. If I feel that they cannot comprehend the entirety of syllabus that I'm going to give them, I'm going to cut my syllabus. I'm going to give them what they need and what they can take back, because what they need and take back is what they can use. It's useless spitting out a whole textbook at them and them not be able to apply the information, right? So it goes hand in hand with what I said just now. Similarly with a client, there are certain clients that would like to know detail. Now, it's important then that you give those clients the exact detail that they want to know, because some clients like to know things in advance. They like to know detail. They like to know why they're doing it. Some clients don't care. They
yeah,
just want to know, can you get me here from point A to point B? Get me the results I want. Do whatever you tell me to do. Just get me the results. Now, with clients like that, you got to learn how to relate to those particular clients. In saying so as well, it's very interesting that we would tend to attract clients like ourselves. So if you're someone that doesn't like to explain to people, but you've met people that are just really just give me all the information, you typically won't attract those people because they will not be attracted to you.
yeah. So
So
true.
if you want to work with a multitude of clients, I think it's so important that you really learn those soft people skills. You need to give them what they need rather than overgive. And you see a lot of trainers out there doing exactly just that. When they're trying to correct a squat, for example, it's like 2001 instructions on how to do
Yeah,
a squat. You got to learn to keep it simple, and that's the fundamental principle, which is the word KISS, isn't it? Keep it simple, stupid.
yeah,
And really, it is what can you say in two sentences that allows them to understand the movement? Are they Are they more of a kinesthetic person? So some people you explain, they can't get the movement because their brain doesn't comprehend what you're saying. You got to show them, let them look at you, let them see you, and then physically use your structure, your hands, based on their permission, to guide them into the right posture, right? Because only then will they go, okay, now this is what it feels like. Because words don't make sense to them. So it depends on the client that you're training. It depends on how well, like different people, for example, have different ways of relating to information. The better you know your clients and how they relate to information, the better you'll be able to get them to comply to what you need them to do.
Yeah, definitely. And we got time for one final question, if that's good.
Shoot, go for it.
Just looking back on your career, what would you do differently? And if there's anything that you'd change, what would it be?
Looking back at my career, I would not do anything differently per se, but what I would add on top of what I've done is actually invest in business-based courses. Uh, Very much, again, with the opening of a lot of these courses with social media as well as the internet, I think now is a great time to have that opportunity to do that. Back in the day, even if I wanted to, it would be very difficult for me to find out which course is ideal. It would be more of a uni course or something like that. Whereas right
Yeah,
now you can do mini courses that people are talking about the topic. So I would definitely, if you're a new personal trainer, start to look at these little courses. And like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be any courses that is associated with fitness itself, because I think a lot of business courses to do with fitness is about expanding gyms. It's about, you have a gym business, how can I grow this? So it may be a little bit advanced for a lot of trainers who are saying, I'm just an independent contractor. How do I grow my current clientele? That's all I'm interested
yeah,
about. And so you need to learn how to either scale down if you are listening to those particular podcasts, or scale up. But there are many, many useful sources of information out there. So that's the main thing that I would do different. Not that I wasn't good at business, but I always feel that with business, there are many ways to be able to be better. And
yeah,
this is really about it, because as the population grows, their thinking diversifies, the way they relate to information diversifies. And we look at all the different generations, your Gen Z, your Gen Y, and all your baby boomers, all that kind of stuff. Every generation changes. And now people are getting so much more information through the internet, through social media, through TikTok. So you really got to be quite savvy in utilizing those tools to reach out to your clientele, which also means that there is, again, we said from the start, there's pros and cons about doing so, which also means, you may present yourself in a certain light, but the moment you want to move away from sort of online training to go to, one-on-one training, you may have difficulties because you don't have the soft skills to be able to do that. So, learning from whatever source you want to learn from is a tool. That's what you got to remember. It's only a tool to add to your toolbox. It's not the end all, the be all. But the more kind of information you can get, the more you utilize it, the more effective you'll be.
yeah. I think that's a super important idea of always upskilling yourself. I think a lot of people get stagnant as they become a trainer, even as they become an S&C, where they've got the role, and then it's like, okay, now I've this sense of comfortability. I've got some clients, or I've got this job. Now I can, put the foot off the brakes and just relax. Whereas that's the time to then go, okay, how can I become more valuable?
Absolutely. Because as an SSC coach, you are very dispensable.
Yes.
They can kick you out at any time because there'll be people waiting in line to take your place.
Yeah. Awesome. Cheers for that. All those answers were amazing.
Brilliant. I'm hoping that the audience will be able to get some information from what I said, but also, it would be great if they could just check out the education platform that I have,
Yes.
which is learn-asp.com. So learn-asp.com. And basically it's courses. It's courses in education for coaches and trainers around the topics of body composition. So we talk about hypertrophy, building muscle. We talk about fat loss. And in this space, you realize that as a PT, everyone wants to look good somehow. no matter what they do, whether they're fixing an injury, whether they're an athlete, whether people want to look good. And so
Yeah.
there is an element of how do I help my clients build muscle? How do you do it smartly? They may not be bodybuilders. They may be, an elderly person that needs to maintain muscle mass. There may be a mother that wants to regain her strength and her confidence back. There could be an athlete, obviously, that wants to do well. So there are many ways on looking at this and how can you dissect it? What are the best ways to do so? Fat loss. What are the best means of losing fat? You might need that for an athlete. You might need that for basically anyone. And so these
Yeah.
courses are focused on that to be able to bring a more, I guess, a practical aspect on how people can translate the research that's going on around us into something that is practical, applicable. As I said earlier, it's got to be practical, it's got to be applicable. So yes, seminars, courses, learn-asp.com.
Awesome. Cheers for that.
Brilliant.
I'll get this up in probably next week sometime, and I'll flick you a message about it.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, sweet.
Awesome,
I've
mate. I hope it's useful.
I've just taken a job in Brisbane, so I'll be heading to Australia.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah. But yeah, keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for the
Absolutely.
time.
No problem, buddy. Take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.
Likewise. See ya.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Bye bye.